So the first thing we're going to talk about with the electric guitar is that we're going to think about this elusive thing called tone. And so tone is actually we have the three elements of the electric guitar. We have the actual guitar, we have the pedal board, and we have the amp. And so the way that normally you would set up your actual tone is you want to start with just the electric guitar and the amp. And so I have my guitar going through my pedal board into my amp, but all of my pedals are completely off. And so what I want to do is I want to start everything kind of middle of the road. I want to be at 12 o'clock with almost everything, and that includes on my amp. So my bass is at 12 o'clock, my treble's at 12 o'clock, not my volume, because I want to put my volume right. We'll talk about that in just a second, but just right at the edge of what we call breakup. But also want to take my my electric guitar, and I want to set it. I don't want to dime it out and be all the way at 10 on the electric guitar, but I want to pull it back to about 8 on my volume knob. And then for this purpose, we're going to start on the bridge pickup and listen to that as far as tone goes. So after we get our tone, our clean tone, exactly how we want it to be, let's move on to how our pedal board plays into just how we shape more of our tone, and also add in some other effects. And so let's go to the pedal board and kind of look at this, and I'll show you some signal path stuff as well. So so right now, this is not the most most beautiful pedal board in the world, but the way that I have my signal path is I have the guitar, and the guitar is going into my tuner. There's other ways to do this where you can go out of your volume pedal to where you can bypass your signal so you don't have to. But I like it where I can turn my tuner on and it cuts the signal, and you won't hear anything while I'm tuning. And so I have my tuner, and then the way that I think is probably the best way to do this is, if you have a compressor, you want to put that at the beginning of your chain. You can put it after your drives if you want to, but I prefer it before my drives. It's gonna compress at the beginning of my tone and let my drives go after that. Or if you put them after your drives, you're gonna compress what your drives are doing, and I don't really like the way that functions. But I have compressor, and then compressor goes into my my low gain drive pedal, which is the Cornish SS3, and then next is going to be more of a higher gain pedal, and this is the G2. And so you can either turn one of these on or turn both of them on. Both of them on is going to give you this is called stacking your drives. It's going to definitely give you a really, really huge sounding tone. And then I really prefer to have compressor drives, and if you have like a fuzz pedal, you want to have that before your volume. You don't have to do that, but I prefer it because what you end up doing is you say you have your drive on. Well, that is your drive is going to actually not change, like the level of drive you're putting in is not going to change, only your volume is going to change. If you have your volume pedal before your drives, then you're actually making the overdrive, the volume of that overdrive, the way it's pushed through, it's going to change what the overdrive tone is doing as you move the volume pedal up. And so I like to have my volume pedal after my drives, and then we go into our modulation effects after the volume pedal. So the first thing I'm going to have is I'm going to have the chorus, and so this is just going to be some additional modulation, and then this is of course in vibrato. But you want to have possibly, if you don't have a chorus, then you want your delay to come next, and then after that you want to put usually you want to put your reverb at the end of your pedal board, because you want to kind of think of this as you're creating more tone here in your drive section, and then you determine the volume of this drive section, and then you're modulating what you're doing here past this. So you're creating a space here. So think this is your tone, and this is creating kind of a room that you're living in, whether it's a delay, whether it's your modulation in the room, or it's your reverb, like how big that room is. And so that's usually how the pedal board is going to be set up, and at least the way that I prefer to set up a pedal board. So I can't cover every single way the combination of pedals will work together, but it's just a couple of things that have helped me kind of build things. So I really like when I'm doing just a really clean tone, I really like to have this compressor on, and it's going to give you a really, really nice, warm, clean tone, pretty clear. And what that compressor does is it takes it from here and then kind of compresses what you're doing and gives it kind of a little bit of a squashy tone. I don't usually like to have my compressor on if I'm using my drives, though, because you're already adding some compression with your overdriving your amp, and you're using whichever pedal is going to add some compression as well. So say you have this lower gain pedal on. So that's kind of a lower gain right there. And then this is going to be more of a higher gain. Let me turn my guitar volume down a little bit. So we can crank that up just a little bit more. So that's coming a higher gain. And I can turn my volume down a little bit and stack them. Cranking your volume up, so you have quite a bit of ability to go from kind of a low gain to a really high gain. And so so let's move on from drive section and kind of get more into let's turn this back on and get more into the modulation effects. So there's certain things that say you're doing swells. Well, swells, you can add in some delay. And let's get this on a more of a, so I'm going to turn my reverb way up. So swells. Some just nice swells. So the thing you want to do with swells, you're acting sort of like what a keyboard would do, like a pad on a keyboard. And so what you want to do is you want to be able to hit a chord or just like a single note, and you don't want the attack to come through. You don't want that sound. You just want to mute that attack, but you want to set the decay on your reverb to be a little bit longer of a trail so that it keeps going. So see how, and then I'm turning my volume pedal down and it's still going, and then you can move to the next note right there. So that helps you build swells. You can also add some, if you have a modulation pedal, you can add some modulation. So there's some modulation on top of that. And then you can also add, some people add drive if you want a little bit of that. You can, kind of makes it sound a little more synth type rather than just like that really, really clean. You can get into some heavier drive. So anyways, so that's swells. And then the next thing just to kind of think about is let's do like a lead tone here. So I'm gonna delay on. Let's do this one. Turn off my compressor. Turn this down a little bit, and let's see. So there's that. Let me turn up my delay just a little bit so you can hear that. So. There's just some delay delay trails on the end of that. And so that's kind of a decent lead tone. And so it's kind of how the pedal board is set up. And so hopefully that helps.